Lamar Dorsey, once an unnoticed figure in the background of 𝙒𝘼𝙏𝘃𝘃𝘃, was used to the world passing him by. But life had its way of making the unnoticed person stand out in the most unexpected ways. Lamar worked as a janitor at the school, quietly moving from hallway to hallway, pushing a cleaning cart and staying out of everyone's way. No one paid much attention to him until that fateful day when everything changed. It all started when a student, Carly, filmed a video during one of his shifts. The clip in which Lamar was caught explaining a complex math concept to a struggling student went viral. The internet, as it often does, seized upon the story. "Janitor tutors students," the headline screamed. The video was shared across platforms, catching the attention of students, parents, and eventually the principal, Mr. Everett. The viral video put Lamar in the spotlight, but it wasn't the kind of attention he wanted. He had never set out to be noticed. Still, people began to see something in him that had been overlooked for so long. A quiet intelligence and an ability to connect with students in ways traditional teachers sometimes couldn't. The principal, understanding the potential in Lamar's humble teaching method, called him into his office one morning. "I know it stung," Mr. Everett began, his voice steady but firm. "But Lamar didn't embarrass you. He inspired them." Braddock, the head of the math department, shifted in his seat. "He's not qualified," he muttered under his breath, though the words felt weak in the face of Everett's unwavering gaze. Everett shook his head. "He's more educated than you realize, and more importantly, he's reaching kids in a way none of us have." Braddock opened his mouth to argue but closed it again. There was nothing he could say. Not really. The truth was, Lamar didn't need a degree to make a difference. He was doing something far more important. He was making the students believe in themselves. Meanwhile, Lamar, in his quiet way, continued his routine. He never asked for special treatment or recognition. Even when Everett offered him a modest stipend to continue tutoring, Lamar accepted, not for the money, but because it felt right. It felt like something he needed to do. He began carrying a small binder with him, filled with handwritten notes, problem sets, and worksheets he created during breaks. At lunchtime, he'd sit in the corner of the cafeteria and scribble down math problems from memory. He didn't seek praise, but occasionally a student would pass by, call out, "Hey, Mr. D," and Lamar would nod, acknowledging them with a quiet smile. Then one afternoon, Carly, yes, the student who had filmed the viral video, approached him by the vending machines. She had a question that had been on her mind for a while. "Did you ever want to be a teacher?" she asked, handing him a new mechanical pencil. Lamar thought for a moment before responding. "I wanted to build things," he said with a soft chuckle. "Teach later, maybe." But life had different ideas. Carly smiled, looking at him with admiration. "Well, I think you're doing both now." Lamar smiled back, grateful for her words but unsure how to respond. He didn't need the title of teacher. What he was doing was bigger than that. However, not everyone shared the same sentiment. Some parents, though they were supportive, began to question Lamar's role in the school. One anonymous complaint made its way to the school board, raising concerns about whether a janitor was qualified to tutor students. Was Lamar background checked? Was it appropriate for him to be teaching in a school setting? Everett, ever the defender of his employees, handled the situation swiftly. "He's an employee of the district," he said firmly. "He's done nothing wrong. If concern was truly the motive, they would have come to me directly." But Lamar couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. It wasn't resentment, it was more like resistance. People didn't know where to place him now that he was no longer just the janitor, hidden away in the background. Then, one day, Braddock did something no one expected. He walked into the library during one of Lamar's tutoring sessions, quietly watched him teach, and after a few moments took a seat. "You mind if I sit?" Braddock asked, his voice low. Lamar glanced up, then motioned to the seat next to him. "Long as you don't mind learning something," he said with a smirk. The students, noticing the exchange, couldn't help but chuckle. Braddock smirked back, and for once there was no edge to it. It wasn't mean, just curious. That day they sat together. There wasn't much talking, but it was a start. And that's how it began. Lamar wasn't looking for titles or recognition. What mattered most to him was the connection he made with his students, the way they responded to him, and the confidence they began to gain in themselves. Every Tuesday and Thursday he showed up. No speeches, no big expectations, just a commitment to help the kids who needed it. One afternoon, Braddock, who had been a regular but silent observer, stayed after the session ended. "You know," he said, looking at the whiteboard, "I used to think this job made me important. I thought teaching gave me power." Lamar didn't say anything right away. He simply let the silence hang in the air for a moment. "But you've reminded me," Braddock continued, "what it's really about. It's about showing up, making it count." Lamar just nodded. He didn't hold grudges. He didn't need to. Principal Everett called Lamar in a month later with a proposal: formalize his sessions into an elective class next semester. It wouldn't count for credit, but it would be a bridge for students, an opportunity for them to build confidence in subjects they once feared. "We'll have to jump through some hoops," Everett warned, "but if you're willing..." Lamar shook his head gently. "I appreciate it," he said quietly, "but I don't need the title. I'd rather keep it simple. Let the kids come because they want to, not because it's on a schedule." Everett nodded, his respect for Lamar evident. "Then we'll support you however we can." Word spread beyond the school district. One day a local reporter stopped by to interview Lamar. The story was covered in the paper and on television, but Lamar refused to make it about him. He kept the interview short, deflecting praise. "I'm just showing them what they already have inside," he said. "Sometimes it just takes a little time to see it." By the spring, 𝙒𝘼𝙏𝘃𝘃𝘃 High hosted its annual student showcase. There were science projects, art displays, choir performances, and in one corner of the gym, a booth titled Dorsey's Table. It wasn't flashy, but it was powerful. The booth displayed dozens of student-written reflections on math, life, and the confidence they'd gained in Lamar's tutoring sessions. The words written by students told stories of how Lamar had helped them see more in themselves. Not because he gave them answers, but because he listened and believed in them. The kids who had once struggled with math and thought they were failures were now leading study groups, helping their peers, and even tutoring their younger siblings. Lamar didn't just teach them formulas. He taught them that they were capable of so much more than they realized. By the end of the night, people weren't asking, "Is he the janitor?" anymore. Instead, they were saying, "That's Mr. Dorsey. He wasn't wearing a suit. He didn't give a speech. He just stood by the table, smiled, and thanked the students who came by to visit." He was the same Lamar who had walked quietly through the hallways, pushing his cleaning cart. But now he had a different kind of power, the power to inspire. Later that evening, back at his apartment, Lamar pulled out the old 𝙒𝘃𝘼𝙉𝙆𝙎 sweatshirt from the box under his bed. He didn't put it on. Instead, he folded it neatly and placed it in a new storage bin, adding a folder filled with student thank you notes beside it. He didn't need the sweatshirt anymore. It was a part of his past, and his future was being written in the notes and reflections of the kids he'd helped. Lamar realized something that night. Legacy isn't about titles or recognition. It's about what you leave behind in others. He didn't need to finish school to teach. He didn't need a degree to lead. All he needed was to show up every day and care. And that's exactly what he planned to keep doing. Subscribe and share it with someone who needs it, because sometimes the biggest minds are hiding in the quietest places.